Hi guys, my name is Ravi and I'm going to display or showcase a basic installation of a 3 nodes Hortonworks cluster. What I have here is a 3 nodes CentOS environment with 16 GB of RAM. I have made use of Vagrant and Ansible to do the provision of machines. So if I do this Vagrant status, I've got 3 machines NN1, DN1 and DN2. I intend to keep NN1 as a name node, DN1 as a data node, and DN2 also as data node. Or in other words, I'm going to keep NN1 as the master node, which will run various master components of a Hadoop cluster. I'm going to use DN1 um, as a slave node and DN2 also as a slave node. I also intend to keep NN1 as a slave node because this is a non-production cluster, and typically you should not be having name node or having a master node do any of the slave node work, but I'm going to do it here, right? So if I go into one of the machines, which is earmarked to become a name node and become root here, show you the IP address. This is what it is. The IP address is going to be 192.168.5.120. Let's inspect the hosts file, and you will see that I've got two more machines, DN1 and DN2. So I'll ping DN1 works and ping DN2 also works. Okay, good. So what I'll do next is to disable SE Linux everywhere. Right, to disable SE Linux, I'm going to again make use of my Ansible stuff. I use Ansible to do some automation. Getting used to a combination of Vagrant and SE Linux, Vagrant and Ansible is a good idea to automate a lot of things in your environment. Alright, so I have a pre-built file, YAML file, which will set SE Linux to SE Linux disabled. So I'm going to run this and Ansible-playbook linux.yml, and it has done the changes. To find out whether the changes have been done correctly, I'm going to check out the lines, check out the file. Again, I will use an Ansible ad hoc command. I'll use shell and I'll say cat etc linux config. Alright, so if you see everywhere SE Linux is disabled, all the three machines. So once this is done, it is always good idea to reboot the machine. If you do not want to reboot the machine, you can set enforce to 0 on all machines and get the output of get enforce, and everywhere it says permissive, which is cool, which is what I want. This is a prerequisite to installing Hortonworks cluster. Okay, so with this done, host name setup, the other thing that we need to do is to set up passwordless access from the master node to the slave nodes. So I'm going to manually go into one of the nodes. It is name node 1, and I'll become root here. And I'll just do SSH to DN1 and DN2 to see if everything is good. Alright. It says permission denied because The connection is only passwordless. There is no interactive SSH allowed. That is the nature of how things work inside Vagrant. So the property to change is sshd underscore config, and you will see a line called um, search for it. Yep. So there is a line here called password authentication. We have to enter this line called password authentication equal to yes. Else, by default, Vagrant sets it up as password authentication no. So we need to set this up to yes. So I'm going to use an Ansible command to do it on all the nodes. So I'll come out of this, I'll come out of this, I'll come out of this, and I'm going to run a very basic command, Ansible all minus m line in file minus a path equal to etc ssh sshd underscore config, and the regex that I'm looking for is regexp equal to password authentication equal to no, and the line is equal to password authentication equal to oops let me copy this line properly, paste, and passwordless authentication is going to be yes, right? So once this is done, so if you read this line, reads like this: Ansible all, the module is m line in file minus a path is etc ssh sshd underscore config. I'm looking for this regexp, and I'm going to change it with the line password authentication equal to yes, right? So once I do that, I have to close the um, single quote and run this. It says extraneous argument or yeah, it replaces it. So let me again check out if everything was done correctly. I will say cat etc ssh sshd underscore config, and I'll just grab for line password. Yeah, so it has been set up. Once this is set up, you need to restart or reload SSH. So I'll do that for each of the machine. I'll say mctl start sshd. So it has done for all of the machines, and now everything should look good. So I'm going to basically what I've done is I have made sure that each of the virtual machine allows SSH based connection. So let me connect back to NN1 again. So I'll say SSH vagrant SSH NN1. I'll become root again, and I'll try to SSH into DN1. I get a password prompt which is good enough for me. DN2, I get a password prompt. So I think that's good enough for me. So what next I'll do is I'll create a private and public key pair. The objective is after creating the private and public key, I'm going to copy my public key across to both the nodes, so that I'm able to make a passwordless connection to both the machines from NN1. This is a prerequisite to installing Hortonworks. So I'm going to take all defaults here, and I have the key. Now I'll have to run a command called ssh copy id to root at DN1, Password should be vagrant dn2. Right. So once I've done it, essentially when I do ssh dn1 and exit, exit. Oops. All right. So likewise, ssh dn2 should also work. Okay, cool. This is what we needed. And once this is done, I'm going to go and download the latest version of Ambari. Oh, before that, please note that all these machines are running firewall. So if I see firewall -cmd -list all, um, okay, firewall D is not running. This is not a good idea. The firewall should always be running. So first thing I'll do is I'll run firewall on all the nodes. Once I run the firewall on all the nodes, I'm going to put all the three machines in a common trusted zone so that the three machines can communicate with each other um, um, properly on all the ports that are needed. The ideal situation would be to create a list of port and only allow those ports. But I'm taking a bit of a shortcut here. What I'll do is I will put all the three machines in a common trusted zone, and that will allow unlimited access between the machines, uncontrolled access between the machines. So essentially, I'm saying that all the three machines are mutually trusting each other. All right. So again, I'll go and make use of a Ansible ad hoc command. I'll start the firewall D and enable them. CTL status firewall D, right? And this must be run as with elevated privileges, so this should work. All right. So firewall has been enabled everywhere. Now I have to write a rule, um, and let me get the IP addresses of the machines first. Um, sorry, the hosts file here, rather vagrant file here. So these are the IP addresses which have to trust each other. So what I'll do is I'll build a command here. I'll say ansible all -shell -a, and then I'll say firewall -cmd -zone equal to trusted -permanent permanent. Okay. Add source equal to first IP also second and third IP. So copy, paste, copy, paste again and change the addresses because the addresses are not right. 31 and 120. So what it does is it makes the necessary changes, but for the changes to become effective, I have to say um, cmd reload. This will let's quickly review the settings. Ansible all m shell -a firewall cmd -zone trusted -permanent -at source first machine, second machine, and third machine. And this rule needs to be applied on all the machines, right? Once you have done this, I'll say reload. Cool. Now, I think I missed out just one thing here, and I'll do it again. I'll go to SSH N1. Apparently, I've configured the SSH passwordless connectivity between NN1 and N2. Sorry, NN1 and DN1, NN1 and DN2. But I have not done it for NN1 and NN1, which is also needed. So I have to say SSH hyphen copy ID NN1. Yes, and all right. So if I say SSH NN1, I'm able to go without password. This is what is needed. Now, essentially what it does is if you go to your .ssh folder, and look at this file called authorized keys, puts the public key of the NN1 on all the nodes, which allows a passwordless connectivity between the three machines from NN1 to NN1, from NN1 to DN1, and from NN1 to DN2 to be precise. Now, this done, I think we are mostly done with the prerequisites here. Let me check the firewall rule for once. Um, so I'll run my Ansible command again, and I'll say manage list hyphen all, and you'll see for the trusted zone for each machine I have got the IP address set up. Good. So this done, what we need to do now is to start the Hortonworks installation. What I'll do now is to get the latest copy of Ambari and set it up on the NN1, which is also going to be a Ambari controller in my case. All right. So let me get hold of the file. Okay, guys. So I will connect to the name node 1, NN1, which is my machine, which will become the Ambari controller. So NN1 is supposed to become my Ambari controller, as well as Masternode hosting different master services, and we'll go through the whole process one by one. So I've gone to NN1. I'll go to etc yum.repos.d, and let me check if I have wget here. I don't, so I'll go and install wget. Right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to download the Ambari repository here, and this is the link that I copied. Quite easily available, and I look at the file called ambari.repo, and this is the file. Okay, without wasting any more time, let's get the Ambari up first, right? So yeah, let's find out yum search Ambari. All right, so you have got couple of stuff here, so I'll install Ambari server. So I'll say yum install nsy Ambari -server. There you go. It will download the necessary prerequisites. If you see, the prerequisites is installation of PostgreSQL and stuff like that. So I'll just go and install the PostgreSQL as well along with Ambari server. The file size is close to 352 meg, so it takes a bit of time to download. Great. So the machines have to be pretty well equipped with necessary amount of memory and CPU. What I've done here is, if you look at my top command, I've given 16 GB and 2 vCPUs. I'm running it on a VirtualBox environment, which is pretty flexible and quite fun to work with. Having installed Ambari, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up. Take the defaults. It says firewall is running, so it's not happy. Run it. I'm going to use the Oracle JDK. So one, accept the agreement, and it downloads the JDK. One more thing that I've forgotten and I just remembered is we need to do one more thing which I just forgot. Mm, IP tables was one thing. Yeah, the other thing was to install Crony package, which I have not done. So I'll do the Crony installation. Also very important. Without the Crony installation, the stuff won't work. So before proceeding, I'll go and install Crony, which won't take much time. So again, I'm going to use the Ansible to do it. Ansible all minus m shell minus a yum install Crony systemctl start Crony d and systemctl enable Crony d. Now the first part of the command installs Crony. I want to make it interactive, so I'll say minus y here. Second will start Crony d and third will enable it, right? And um, so three commands and they must be run as super user, so I'll say minus p. One more thing to remember is, or one more thing to point out is that using Ansible is really not a requirement. You could SSH into individual machines and do your stuff. But I just want to use Ansible because it really makes your life so much more simple. It says Crony is already installed, and that's good news. But in any case, I just want to check the status of Crony D now. Or I can just say is active. The two things I can check is active and is hyphen enabled. These are the two things. And check it out if it's all answered correctly. Good. This is what I wanted to see. So we are good. Now I'll become root again on NN1, which is going to be my master server. Um, so I'm going to start the Ambari server now, and most of the other things that I need to do will happen only from Ambari interface, right? So I'll say Ambari hyphen server start. Okay, good. So if I run Ambari server status, if you don't know if there is a command like that, Ambari is running. What you need to know is if Ambari is running, you will see a port number 8080. There is no netstat here. I believe SS should be here. The newer versions of Linux, there is SS. So 8080 is started. Now the next thing is I'm going to access it through my web browser. But again, my host machine talks to the VirtualBox VMs on a public zone, so I will not be able to access it. So let me make changes on my firewall again and again. Forgive me for my my propensity towards using Ansible. Minus M shell minus A firewall um, cmd minus minus zone equal to public this time, minus minus add minus port equal to 8080/TCP minus minus permanent, and then the next command is firewall hyphen cmd minus minus reload. Next command is firewall hyphen cmd minus minus list all, and I'm going to do it for as a super user, but this only needs to be run on node called NN1. Again, you could log into the machine and do it, but I'm doing it here. done. And if you notice, it has already done the 8080. Having done this, we will move to the next part of accessing the web browser and setting up the remaining stuff. Alright, so uh, let's start that component.